Travel's Journeys Through the Multiverse is a college project. It's my final major project for my foundation degree, and it is a sequel slash reboot of my old series from about 6 years ago called simply Travels.
Previously on my travels.
You might have just
Travels, an exaggerated term for traveling across alternate universes, based on old 1990s shows such as Sliders, and also more recent shows such as The Tomorrow People. And the first thing I want to say in my evaluation is I have never known myself to go so far from the original pitched idea to what I ended up actually creating. If you look at my pitch, it's an entirely different kind of movie.
I had to rewrite Travel's Journeys Through the Multiverse multiple times before I came up with something that I was happy with. Originally, my character was going to be a hedonist, misogynist guy who disappeared through a portal and basically learned to become a different person, and he could be restored to his original life after he had changed significantly. However, I decided I didn't want to focus on that. I wanted to do something fun and silly, so I decided, and besides, that idea seemed a little bit too serious for my liking and a little bit too dark, so I decided to look at the original Travels from when I made the original series back in 2015, and I saw that there was a lost episode in my collection. It was episode 4 out of 5 episodes, and the 4th episode was an episode where he snuck onto an alien's ship and he had to fly the ship, which he did not know how to fly, away from the aliens long enough for him to have another one of his traveling moments so he could escape from that universe. And that was the episode. So I thought, what if I were to recreate that episode in 2021 with the knowledge I have now of filmmaking and rewrite it to be more up to date to what I want to make now. And this is what we've ended up with. And I'm pretty happy with it.
So I wrote an original version of the script that was based on the pitch, and I was setting everything up using some borrowed equipment from the college to start filming in January. So I started filming in January, but this was filming for the original script for my movie, and I didn't end up using most of the clips. The filming was done in a very limited space in my parents' garage. I think the clips came out pretty well considering, plus considering the fact that the green screen was full of creases and I had to iron the green screen every time I got it out. It was a real battle trying to work with the lights. I had a light that I had borrowed from the college, and I also had a daylight lamp to the front of me, and I used the room light as the third light at the time. And the green screen came out with mixed results, with my shadow peering over the green screen, because I had to stand pretty close to it in order to get my full body in the shot. I also did some other filming that was for the original script, and this gave me a chance to experiment with the different kinds of shots, close-up, medium and wide. But none of these clips made it into the final movie. These clips didn't even fit the final script, so I've included them here just to show evidence of them. At first glance, it may look like an amateur homemade project, but this was made in a lockdown situation using almost entirely green screen and CGI. So it's been a huge learning experience. I originally wanted to make everything in Blender, but the sheer amount of learning that I had to do for this software wouldn't have been able to have completed all of the backgrounds in time. So I decided to lean back on some software I already knew, and that was Source Filmmaker. So I did a bunch of scene building using assets from different video games and models that other people had ported over from other video games, and combining the two scenes together, the ones from Blender and Source Filmmaker, they went together surprisingly well. For the purpose of my movie, for the alien ship, I used an asset pack from Blender, and I think I came out with pretty good results for the time I had available, and I'm quite happy with what came out. So, having had quite the experience with a lot of different software, I used a combination of Adobe Premiere Pro, Adobe After Effects, Blender of course, and also Sony Vegas, Audacity, and Source Filmmaker. With After Effects being the most difficult for me to personally use, as with many of the scenes that I rendered using After Effects, the frame rate was extremely low, and the way that the memory would take up all the memory on my computer, making it very difficult to render anything in a decent frame rate, with the audio often lagging behind the video. To work around this, I rendered everything as an image sequence, but even then, things were not rendering at the correct speed, so I then had to create this image sequence using Sony Vegas and then run it through Sony Vegas a second time to speed up the combined image sequence so that everything would play at normal speed. My biggest problem with this project, other than writing the thing, was time management. So the writing came into it in a big way because for months I was unable to come up with a story I was happy with. And without a story, I had nothing to film. Nothing of value to film, aside from maybe a few test shots. I didn't come up with the final draft of my script until April, and I more or less started filming the next day, with my entire family helping me out, which I was very grateful for, especially in a lockdown situation. So, aside from me, there is my brother and my brother's fiance playing additional roles in the film, with my dad appearing very briefly at the end. But I did not start filming until April, and the editing from April until the deadline has been brutal, to say the least. Learning all this software and applying the knowledge that I have has been very stressful and time consuming. So overall, if I were to do this project again, I would get the thing written a lot earlier, and secondly, I would film earlier and dedicate more time for the visual effects and for creating the virtual backgrounds. It's very easy to underestimate how much time you will need, especially if you have a certain number of skills in this area, or you think that you know certain software, like me. I feel like if I had worked in a team, the quality might have been a little bit higher, but working on my own was an opportunity to unleash my full creativity and show it off to a few people. And it's been a huge learning experience, So, but I still feel like if I worked in a team, the quality would have been higher. But I cannot deny the sheer amount of learning that I have gained from making this movie. Not to mention excitement, motivation, enjoyment, all the reasons that I was interested in the film industry for in the first place. To be able to create something that you can call your own, that is good.
Basically, from the beginning of this movie, from the moment I decided to make it, I just wanted to make a silly, cheesy action sci-fi with maybe comedic elements in it. When you look at the original Travels, that was intended to be completely serious, and it ended up coming off as quite juvenile and amateur. So for this sequel reboot of sorts, I decided it would be a better idea to try and deliberately achieve that kind of effect by being like, basically making a story where it's like, yep, I know this is silly, I know this is dumb, but this is exactly what it's supposed to be. This is just a fun, geeky, silly, cheesy sci-fi adventure. And, well, it is all of those things. And that was satisfying because I'm able to pull something off with the effects I wanted to pull off, rather than trying to make something serious and it just coming off as cheesy when it's not supposed to be.